New Zealand has the highest rate of domestic abuse per capita in the developed world. Abuse needs silence to thrive. In this series, Simonne Butler, herself the survivor of a vicious attack that nearly took her life, meets those brave enough to break their silence. These are their stories.
She took her last breath here, and he probably knew where he wanted to stab her, that she doesn't survive. He didn't want her to live. He wanted to finish her off.
Farida and her colleagues are here today, honouring the memory of a woman they'd worked hard to protect from harm.
I am very, very angry that it happened broad daylight.
They work for Shakti, an organisation which helps abused women from ethnic communities. The woman who was killed was one of their clients. For legal reasons, we can't share her real name, but we'll call her Angel, the name given to her by a Good Samaritan who tried to save her life. Angel was the second woman from the Chinese community to be killed by their partner within the last year.
We focused on last 25 years to keep women safe in the house. Now it just got extended. We have to make sure they're safe even on the street.
Angel was waiting for a bus early one morning last year when she was attacked and stabbed to death. Her ex-husband has been charged with that crime.
Every time we lose a woman, it's hard. It's very hard. And losing one of ours is harder.
What does Shakti do that some of the other organisations don't?
Shakti focuses on immigrant and refugee women from Asia, Africa, and Middle Eastern countries. Many of them are not understand what sort of support system out there, language barrier. There's many issues like forced marriage, underage marriage, dowry abuse, FGM.
FGM stands for Female Genital Mutilation. Shakti campaigns publicly to raise awareness of these issues. Farida launched Shakti here in New Zealand over 25 years ago after having lived in the UK.
Can you tell me a little bit about why you set up Shakti and how it all came together?
When I went through my own struggle of domestic violence, I went to Shakti UK. I realized what the assistance that I got, support that I got. Women need that kind of support to survive and come out of domestic violence.
That experience later inspired her to start Shakti locally.
When I came to New Zealand, I didn't think of working in this area, but I started volunteering with the local refuge, and I didn't see any immigrant women coming through their refuge.
One of the reasons for this is that less obvious forms of abuse are often ignored.
People will laugh if you say that I'm leaving my partner or husband because he's psychologically or emotionally abusive to me. Yes, you got bruised or broken ribs or broken bones, then they will think, oh, that's really seriously bad, you should leave.
So bad that Shakti's helpline fields more than 10,000 calls a year.
Pavitra from Shakti. Can I speak to you now? How are you, Vani, today?
New Zealand's Asian population has grown dramatically in recent years and now numbers over 700,000 people. But when things go wrong, women migrants can end up entirely isolated in their new country.
If you really look at migration trend, women come with their husband. Most of the cases, women don't have anyone else from her own surrounding, her close family members. They depend a lot on their cultural community, where they speak the same language or from the same countries or same religious background. When, because of domestic violence, you leave and they judge you and they put pressure onto you, they organize a community meeting to facilitate you to go back to your husband, the very husband that you just had a permanent protection order.
But in Angel's case, even a protection order couldn't save her.
Legal protection, police, none of this work in this case.
Angel was the second Chinese woman to be murdered in New Zealand in a domestic incident within the space of a year. In December 2018, 34-year-old Simonne was stabbed to death by her former partner while she cradled their toddler in her arms. That's why Shakti is planning a campaign to address domestic abuse in the Chinese community.
Jenny, how do we go about it? We translate in Mandarin and Cantonese. We lost number of women in Chinese community last year.
But it's quite a little bit difficult because the Chinese culture is different. People doesn't want to talk about their domestic violence at home.
And even worse, entire communities can turn on a victim. Shi Ling experienced this firsthand when she left an unhappy marriage many years ago. Now she's a Shakti counsellor.
I don't feel safe, so that's I leave my own community.
For Shi Ling, leaving everything she knew after migrating to a country she didn't know at all was deeply painful.
How did that feel to have to leave your own community?
I leave the community because I was blamed. I feel so lots of the gossip. I feel isolation.
Can you imagine the isolation? If they were fluent in English, they can at least communicate with everyone else. Who do you communicate with? Only with your children? That's really hard. I think a lot of people don't realize how difficult this process is.
If the woman suffer the violence in the community,
They won't accept her.
no.
And do they blame her?
Yeah.
Simonne also knows a thing or two about blame. It's one of the reasons she wrote a book, to reclaim her own story. She's brought a copy of it to give to Shi Ling today.
We tried to write it really easy, so it could be almost used as a textbook for people on the front line. That was a Christmas when I was still living in abuse, just trying to pretend that my life was okay when it wasn't. Yeah, so that's them it's the inside of my arm, them trying to put me back together.
Chopped off all the
Yeah, because I put my hands up to protect my head. Yeah, and then there's some more photos later on of like surgeries and things like that. It was a long road, but I had amazing support.
And that's what Shakti does. It provides amazing support to migrant women, helping them move on and join new communities.
What is community? Community is a group of people who love and care for you, who is there, good or bad times. If your traditional community is going to cause further pain and agony for you, then you just need to move on and find people. They might not be traditionally from your culture or your language background, but they might be the people who will not judge you, who will support you. I saw them, Middle Eastern women making friends with Chinese women. They're taking care of each other's children. Or Korean women being part of an Indian woman life. A Maori woman who supports an immigrant woman. I'm absolutely grateful to Shakti. I don't know without Shakti where I would have been with my daughter, what kind of life I would have led.